No, look, we have a gentleman nobody's ever heard of that was Sean Hannity. What are you doing here, Sean Hannity? Should we let him do a question? I don't know.
I work in radio and TV. The mic's on. Mr. President, thank you. Mr. Secretary, good to see you.
That was a bit of President Trump and Fox News host Sean Hannity's banter during a news conference at the North Korea summit last week. Joining us now, Chief Washington Correspondent for The New Yorker, Jane Mayer. She's out this morning with her latest piece entitled The Making of the Fox News White House, which dives into the president's relationship with the network. What did you find exactly about, like, how would you describe the relationship? A lot of people consider Fox News at sometimes to be Trump TV, to be propaganda. Having said that, there's some great journalists there.
There's some great reporters for Fox News. That's absolutely true. But what there also are a roadblock every night of hosts that do opinion shows, and every morning that take up the major hours on Fox, that are a platform, a softball platform for President Trump, and he works it big time. I mean, what you've got there is, according to a number of critics, the closest we've ever had to state news in this country. And what I was looking at was Bill Shine, who used to be the president of Fox News, is now the head of communications in the Trump White House. And I sort of thought, that's interesting. Let's go back and take a look at this relationship. If you lift the lid layer after layer from the bottom all the way up to the owner of 21st Century Fox, the chairman, Rupert Murdoch, there's a kind of a symbiotic relationship here.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you about Bill Shine's role, if any, in what in the notion that you're talking about here, what's happening, as well as Rupert. Or is it a direct connection between Trump and the hosts? I mean, I think of like Sean Hannity and Jeanine Pirro, and do you really feel that there's a relationship there that's direct?
Oh, well, I think it is. I think according to people I interviewed, and I interviewed dozens and dozens of people, Sean Hannity and Trump speak regularly, almost every night after his show. At least that's what Sean Hannity has told people. But there is also a relationship between Rupert Murdoch and Trump, and between Rupert Murdoch and Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. So you've got this sort of feedback loop going on that's very tight. I mean, we've really never had a whole national network like this that is basically it's incredibly close with this White House. People have described it to me as a wing of the West Wing.
Mike Barnicle.
Jane, as usual, an extraordinary piece from you in The New Yorker this week. One of the things in this altering presidency that we're all living through is the role of Fox TV in the presidency and thus on the nation. And one of the people that you interviewed in talking about it said that Fox is not just taking the temperature of the base, it is raising the temperature. Could you speak to that? Because we all live through it in talking to ordinary people during the course of our days.
And I think it's incredibly important, so thanks for asking. I mean, what Fox does is it makes money by enraging Americans. That's how they keep them glued to the television set. And it's very much the same model that Trump has to keep his base engaged. So you've got a kind of a rage base model for both of them. And what it's doing is it's spinning the country in an increasingly inflamed direction. And so it has a huge effect on our national politics.
And part and parcel of that, to follow up on that quote, your explanation of it in the piece, the reality of it, what we're dealing with and watching, is Fox is both the president's shield and his sword.
And that's right. I mean, so it carries his message, and it also gives him a message a lot of the time. I mean, what we see is that Trump picks up on what he sees on Fox, and I've got quotes from people who are very close in to the White House, people who worked in the White House, in and out of Fox, saying what you've got is a dysfunctional White House a lot of the time with no normal decision-making process, where a lot of the policy making is the president picking up what's on Fox. And then I describe how Fox puts on what it does on the news, which is shocking in many ways. I mean, taking stuff straight off of the most crackpot blogs, and don't take it from me. Take it from the people who are quoted from Fox saying so.
So, I have a question for you on that topic. In fact, you know, we often hear about people in the administration who go on Fox to get to the president. The best way to get something through his head is to have it said on Fox and Friends or on Hannity. But I'm curious, you know, Fox is a business. It wants to make money. And I'm curious, who is getting more out of this, and which direction is the power flowing? Is Fox driving the presidency, or is the presidency driving Fox to change and adapt for some business purpose?
So this was my question going into this, too. And the problem is that there's such a kind of a symbiotic relationship. You can hardly tell on any given day which one's in the driver's seat. But what you can say is it works for both of them, and maybe to the detriment of the rest of us. Because what you see is that Fox is making a tremendous amount of money, $2.7 billion maybe a year for 21st Century Fox. The cable news or part of it is making that much money. So this is working for them ratings-wise. But does Rupert Murdoch know better? He's somebody who thinks there should be open or much looser immigration. He's an immigrant himself. He's opposed Trump on immigration. But does he complain? It looks like what he does is he counts the bottom line.
All right, the new piece is online now at The New Yorker. Jane Mayer.